Hello everyone, it's Grant again. This is me in the dark green helmet with the lamellar, and I'm fighting Chris, who has the red and white shield. I go for a shot to the offside, and he drops right down and catches my sword arm. So then I step back, reset, go again. I'm trying to get that same shot. Now I'm wise to the drop shot with my shield there. I see it coming. He goes in, and I'm looking at that long step with the leg. If I can triangle step, I'm trying to catch it there. But he manages to get my leg, the outside of my right leg there, so I drop to my knee. Set up, he comes forward. Right there, usually my two really good options from this kneeling position are my face thrust and my offside moulinet. I was looking for both of those, but he ends up getting me with a wrap shot to the back of the helmet. So we both go offside, and we both hit each other's shields. Then I'm coming in, and about now, I'm looking to create an angle to his left side, my right, in order to get a deep wrap shot to his leg or around the back. See, I go over there, try for a face thrust, and again, as I draw back, I don't quite get far enough, and so he takes my leg. So go down, and again, those two shots that I'm always looking for there, my face thrust and my offside moulinet there, and he catches me with another wrap shot to the helmet. Luckily though, I do catch his arm with the offside moulinet, so it was a double. So here I tried a guard that one of the guys that also goes to this practice does a lot, but I don't have the same shaped shield as he does, so it doesn't really work well for me, and I also don't angle my shield, so here I presented my shield out, and I went for some outside shots, but as soon as Chris's wrist cleared the line of my shield, he was really able to rotate around. Then I go to this position. It's really good passively because it covers a lot of angles, especially as withdrawing, but he caught me with a wrap shot. So here Chris is talking about the guard stance that I went to earlier, and the mechanics of how I got around it. It's great being able to train with these guys. I'm back now, back home for the summer, so I'm able to go to these practices again. This is the shield that I'm using in this one is a hexagonal shape, so it's the same as the later one, same shape as the later one that you'll see, but this one particularly is a bit larger. It's made out of aircraft aluminum. I was working on its construction because I needed carriage bolts as opposed to hex bolts on the outside of the shield. So the other shield that I have is much more. It has my sigil on it. This one does not have my sigil on it yet because it is not yet fully painted and finished. The other one, the other shield that I have is made out of wood and is just a bit smaller. So we're resetting, coming in again. And he gets me right in the helmet. My shield wasn't quite high enough. So here Chris is talking about how he got that there. Painting the offside shot to get right up there, getting me to drop my sword to move it out of the way. And I'm practicing the same move on him. So yeah. So then I'm switching out shields. Now I'm going to my wooden one, which is slightly smaller and is painted on the face of it. Well, the other one is painted, but just a solid color green. This one is painted with white angles going in towards the that you see towards the boss of the shield. They're both center grips, and then a yellow design of a evergreen tree. Then I was explaining to Chris that the reason I was changing up shields was that it wasn't that my arm was getting tired in my hand though, from the way that I was gripping the aluminum shield was getting tired. It also might have been that my bracer on the left side was a bit too tight, so that was restricting my forearm muscles' ability to flex. So here we square up again, and he's explaining that he takes every opportunity to relax the hand that is on his shield, but still remain in a somewhat combative stance throughout the entire encounter. So here we're talking about the relative readiness of all of the particularly resting stances that one could adopt. So here he comes in really aggressively to start off with. He covers a really long distance. This is something that we comment about on those steps, and he catches me with a wrap shot to the back of the helmet.
So slow-mo from here, purposely hit low, way outside of our range. Okay? Boom, and you shifted that shield over to catch it.
And he's displaying how he got around that. One of the fortunate things now is that I have all of the kit that I have is really my own. Instead of me having to borrow anyone's, I have a full set of kit. So I can have it and get used to it on my own, practice with it on. So here, I'm being really defensive. To start off with, I'm really just presenting that face thrust to get his shield up, so I can try to take a leg shot. I'm catching a lot of his blows on my sword, which is something that I should really stop doing, because I need to have a more active shield as opposed to just passively putting it there. Really light face thrust and withdraw into a Molinai, but it just ends up hitting a shield. All those Molinais were really powerful there on the shield, but didn't really amount to much. So he comes in with a lot here, and I sort of respond back as soon as I can. I'm sidestepping here and presenting with the right side, so I have a little longer reach for the face thrust that I want to get. That face thrust I did was slightly off target, so it was just to the side of my head and on my shoulder. And that face thrust there is usually something that I do after the offside shot, because my sword is already there. Even if they retreat, I just have to lightly drop it in. Boop. And then here Chris is talking about if people don't take the thrust, popping it back in, since it's already there.
I thought it was going to be higher. I thought it was going to be there. That's right. So, yeah.
Then I was explaining that I thought it was a face, the thrust was on the face, so I didn't really want to go really power into it. That's a topic that will come up later in these videos. This one video, but actually a string of clips from me with different people. One of the things that I notice when I watch myself sparring is that I walk back a lot, and one of those disadvantages that I forget to circle to the side to create angles for myself for opportunities that I could otherwise have. Now we're talking about the whether I thought the offside Molinet, the side of his helmet, was a good one. Whether I felt that it was a good shot. And I said yes, because he asked me about it. So usually, however, it's on the it's all about the person receiving the blow, who is the one who calls the shot. But in this case, he asked me about it. Now he's talking about how to add power to the shot, because that's not what I was doing. Usually when I drop to my knees, I forget about using my hips a lot, because they're just sort of sat there and I'm not really moving.
Especially when you're on your knees. Right. If I'm leaning up like this, that kind of comes in.
So again, one of the things that I notice about myself is that I walk back a lot. And one of the disadvantages is that I forget to go to the side and plane to either side. But one of the advantages then is there are some shots that are just always too tippy or just light enough that when I'm walking back that I don't call them good because they don't have enough power, because I'm walking away from them.
Took me freaking 3 times to get you to set that up. Good. It only takes 1.
So sometimes when I'm out of range, I focus on adjusting my posture and planning on what to do as of defensive actions. That's what you saw when I was dropping my hips back. We talk about that and at these practices where you, instead of leaning forward just a little closer to the enemy, or your opponent rather, you sit back in your hips as to be more defensive and be more ready and able to get out of the fight, create distance. And there we were talking about what the exchange actually was, because we both felt something hit. He didn't call something because he thought it was light, and I was telling him what that shot was, which is a wrap. It was really slow, so it wasn't very fast, and so it didn't have a lot of power on it. So there I go around his shield, try to stab in a metal point. That's trying to stab over his shield to the chest. He slots that right in. I call it light because my leg was being drawn back. It just sort of clipped the armor there. Didn't really hit me square on the leg. And he gets shot onto my helmet. So here I approach in medial point, threatening with a thrust. He swipes away. I go with a side Molinet. And I step in deep, I feint high, and I catch him with the leg. So now this is me and Quan.
Oh, the straw that I have? Oh yeah, it works wonders.
This would be my first time fighting Quan with the weapon combination that he's using,
Yeah.
which is 2 daggers.
But how do you get it?
So as you might be able to see, I have a dagger which is on the front of me
Under my chainmail.
as a secondary weapon.
You know that's what they do.
And then my main weapon, which is
looks
like an iron sword, but which is modeled after a sword or schwert from the migration period, roughly 500 AD. That is my persona. I'm a Germanic tribesman from 500 AD.
This dude who used to fight with camelback.
Who's wearing lamellar armor that he probably stole from a Lombard,
And they halted the
or
whole
an
battle
Ostrogoth,
thinking he
as
was
it might
hurt.
happen.
Like he
So
was killed.
Quan here is fighting with
like,
2 daggers, and they both have basket hilts.
Dripping all over everybody, so like, oh,
I don't really
they're
like basket
calling
hilts in the context of
and he starts to, like,
trying
move,
to
they're like, "Don't move, don't
present
move."
the
So he's
periods
like, "Oh,
which
something
we
bad happened real
present
close to
in
me."
SCA. In most medieval contexts, the basket hilt really throws me off of the whole medieval, or as it may be, ancient aesthetic. Whereas a basket hilt would be more fitting for, say, a pike and shot context, where a sword with a basket hilt was actually used. So the main thing with these daggers is that I have to watch out for the thrust, because there's 200% more thrust that I have to watch out for than I'm used to.
I'm
Because he
doing
has
sit-ups too, but I'm really pissed
two-
off at them because apparently if
two
you're really
thrusting
fat
attacks.
and you start getting muscle there, it makes you look fatter.
Yep. Or you can be that unicorn that looks like a six-pack.
This
I'd be
is
okay
me
with that.
trying to
I wanna
enter
go- I
bind
wanna go topless
always
at my-
the dagger,
at my
because I want to
vacation.
feel what it's doing, and so I'm
I was gonna have a
traveling
hot girl
around him
summer
now.
and it's just not working out.
Good. I'm starting
And he
laughing
finally
at
said
this.
good,
He's-
so
he keeps
then I
turning
stopped
around.
fighting.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
I know you were trying to tell me, but it was just the way like, what are you fucking doing? Dude, stop. What the fuck? Oh my god. Oh my god. My shit anywhere.
So he goes in for a thrust there, and I catch him, I parry, catch him with a face thrust. However, it turns out it was to the side of the helmet, and as per our instruction from Griff, there, the large man in red, who we had just so recently seen, the left frame, the thrust to the side of the helmet is not a valid kill in the SCA. So it was not a kill, even though it looked and felt. So with this new gain knowledge, we reset and fight again. Eventually.
But it wasn't a legal kill. And my kid told me to hold that position, so I stood there and got hit in the head like 18 times. He just fucking flat the blade.
Nope. So those daggers need to go to the throat.
So now I'm being a little bit more defensive. He seems to have a lot more options up close because of his 2 shorter weapons. So I'm really trying to play a very long game here. I come in with 2 Milanese to the
Watch your
head,
hands there. You just punched him with your basket hilt, Grant.
and the one that
Punch him in the
finally
chest with your basket
finishes
hilt.
him right is right on the mat.
Then your cross guard, whatever. Still gotta watch it.
And Griff comments that when I was out of frame there, I was putting too much contact with my armored gauntlet on his cuirass.
God, that feels so good.
There's Griff again.
I'm loving my new armor. Like, I just gotta learn how to fight that good. I don't fight bad. I just don't fight that good.
So here I get his left arm,
that face? Was it telling
and
me I
thus
fight bad?
he resorts to using only his
Oh.
right.
Come on, guys, clean it up.
I'm mutual point in the air, threatening to thrust. He parries it, so I try to leg him. Kind of from a bind, exchanging lots of Milanese here. going for lots of different shots,
What do you think about your face
trying to
thrust?
vary my target areas a lot.
Did you land a face thrust on him?
I did land a face thrust.
And here,
What do you think?
I thought I landed a face thrust, but Juan didn't call it, so I kept fighting because no one had said good yet. And
Right? So if you
Chris,
land something
or
like
Gris,
that,
which is his persona,
and say, what do you think about that face
informed
thrust?
me that if that happens in a fight and I believe that I
That face thrust
landed
goes
a
on his head, and he doesn't even remember it happened.
good
Okay, so now if you're iffy, don't
light
fucking call
face
hold.
thrust and they didn't call it,
You know you
then
landed it. There's no question. Call hold it.
I should call hold and ask the other fighter what they thought about the face thrust.
If I can see it, I'm like, hey,
So on.
where did that
Because otherwise, if the fight simply continues, then they're going to forget about that because they have lots of other things to worry about, and that's not going to be committed to their memory or immediately brought to
If he says
the
no,
forefront
you say,
of
okay,
their.
cool, no problem, you go on. But
Juan commented that the face thrust was too light, and Chris informed him that it ought to be light as it was in the face thrust. So there, Juan landed a stab to
body,
my chest.
because he's gonna kill you with those stupid fucking daggers. So don't go non-lethal. So wherever you're throwing, throw lethal. Body and above, right? So don't trade leg for that kill shot all day long. Stupid fucking daggers.
As hard as I possibly can.
There, that would have been a double, but I didn't put enough power into the thrust to his chest. Here he gets quite close, so I start to move my shield around, trying to create angles, trying to sidestep a lot of his forward movement using the short triangle step before we almost ran into the wall back there. So he does a short triangle step in space, trying a lot of Moline's.
Grant, you're not cutting through it.
One of the things I'm trying to work on is that a lot of my shots are very, very fast and accurate, but in order to be fast and accurate, they're not very powerful. So I am trying to train myself to have the ability to consistently throw shots with my sword that are fast, that have enough power and that are also accurate. And one of the Griff there, he just complimented my sash that I added to my outfit. It's a new addition that I chose to add.
The road loves to appreciate. Like, whenever someone asks me what I call myself, when I leave the practice, I call myself an Opalo, which is stolen from Buffalo, your shield instructor, but like...
So this is almost wrapping up my round with Juan.
Ready?
I believe there might be one or two more. Yes. So I noticed that there is a slight gap between both of his basket hilts when there is the 2 points form a triangle. So my first shot there is trying to come under, but it wasn't in range, unfortunately. So here I'm thinking about going for a leg shot, and then maybe if he blocks it, coming up on that same side to a helmet, but he acts first, so I have to keep him defensive. I still end up trying to go for that leg eventually, as you saw in that exchange. And then I believe this would be our last exchange.
You drew that. You know what we're talking about? Don't draw. Let it land first and then pull.
again, variety of shots, lots of different angles. I'm trying to overwhelm his defensive capabilities because he doesn't have many passive ones. He has 2, but they're relatively small because they're daggers. So it's not as if he can just sit there like a person with a relatively large shield is able to. So that's the end of our exchanges. That's our last exchange. But then now, this is my rounds that I'm doing with Griffin.
Go get him, Grant.
We talked earlier, and he said that what he was going to do is he was going to wait to fire back any shots until I had thrown 5 at him. So this is him. He plays a German lord, and I play a Germanic tribesman from different periods, but around the same area. So we have a slightly comical conversation in persona.
That's a Swedish
relating to
accent.
that. So we salute. I go into my guard. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there I leg him. That's a pump fake that Chris taught me. I go up with both my sword and shield and I drop for that leg shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now that's 5 at least. So he goes right in and gets me right in the helmet. I have a spanking helm, so it's divided nicely into quarters up there. So here I'm going to go for a false edge cut to the side. It hits his shield. He comes in. Hits me in the hand. Maybe it was the arm. Oh, it must have been the arm. Anyways, I go to a nice sword and buckler position. I'm leaving my shield out. I'm approaching. Combo of shots. And then I land a face thrust. So apparently he had called good on one of the other shots, and I hadn't heard it. No one else had heard it. Just with the response. And I'd also gone entirely too hard for the face thrust, which I then vehemently apologized for. So now we're calibrating, saying that both of those two were too hard, and that was also too hard. So now he came in with several shots and was slowly opening up some angles, and he finally dropped in and caught me right on the shoulder. Not really the shoulder, just maybe the corner of the neck. Then he asked me about a leg shot that I didn't call good. I explained that it was while I was moving the leg back, so even though it was on target when he threw it, it wasn't on target when he landed it. you could see there the position that I tried earlier, which didn't work for me because I didn't move my elbow in enough. Try a Moulinet there to catch the side of his helmet. And that's the end.
Black Knight summons